Welcome to another episode of Namaste Tech Talk. This is Praveen, CTO and co-founder of MindBowser. Today I have Mr. Vinay with me, a seasoned consultant, uh, techie by heart, and more importantly, comes from a big background of healthcare, working with a lot of health tech startups, helping them in their journey. So today we'll deep dive into the world of AI. Of course, that's the hottest topic today, but as well as his background in robotics and a lot of other things in medtech. Welcome to the show, Vinay.
Yep. Glad to be here.
Great. So first thing first. So I want to understand a bit about your background. Maybe why don't you introduce yourself first?
Sure.
Of course, you have like a huge kind of 25 years plus experience of what I know. So I wanted to know more around that, as well as we'll start deep dive into the robotics.
Okay. So, I would correct 20 plus years, not 25, but so I have humble beginnings as an engineer. Started off thinking about what to do, want to go with the flow, right? Like anybody choosing an engineering discipline. Uh, Going into software or electronics and communications, having got a good rank and good college, but somehow I had some kind of love towards life sciences, the
Mm-hmm.
way life world and life has taken me towards this life sciences, and eventually I've taken biomedical engineering and did my advanced studies education in biomedical engineering as well. So that has given me segue into what I am today, right? Working
Yes.
closely with a lot of clinical engineering modalities and enabling technologies that enhance the overall healthcare, right?
Great.
So
Okay, good. And connecting to that, right? So, starting with your journey, you mentioned few things, but I want to understand what inspired you to pursue this path, not the other one.
so the, going into the healthcare,
Yeah.
or yeah, so the thing is it has some tangible things. Some things impact your life, right? And your thoughts, right? You see how life is panning around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? You believe that there is some science to it, right?
Mm.
How a technology can change an outcome,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
For example, my grandparents, they were ailing, right? So any technology that could make their life better
Mm.
made our family's life better,
Mm.
right? But where is this technology coming from?
I see.
How has it become better from the days I've seen, right,
Mm.
to the day, like from growing from childhood to
Mm.
my engineering days, that has given me a inside curiosity on, like, how technology is maturing,
Mm.
right? But also to understand human being as a system of systems, right?
Okay. Okay.
So we believe systems thinking has taken a seed in my life
Mm-hmm.
then, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think analytically. We have a problem, we try to solve it
Mm-hmm.
by digesting it to pieces,
Right.
but rarely we think in the reverse order, right?
I
When
see.
all parts put together, how
Mm-hmm.
does the system behave as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that kind of thinking started with our human being itself, right? Why can't digestive system work by itself? Why
Mm.
cannot the neural system work by itself?
Right.
Why do all have to be connected to each other?
Mm.
What is the emergent behavior if
Mm.
one doesn't work properly, right?
Mm.
And they're connected to each other, so there is a complexity and
Mm-hmm.
beauty within the human system,
I
right?
see.
So that curiosity has led me to take this path separately than the status quo,
I
right?
see.
So I came from a locality where every other engineer is a software engineer,
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
But I had to really, struggle and say that, this is for me.
Right. Okay. This is like you mean like when you're in engineer, when you're doing your engineering, that time this struck to your mind or?
No, before getting into college, because you have to get a college seat,
Mm.
I had an offer from taking a software engineer in a particular college. I could
Mm-hmm.
go for electronics and communication
Right.
engineering, and I was sitting through the counseling,
Uh-huh.
and this one came in front of me,
Uh-huh.
right? And just I think my life changed in 5 hours when
Oh,
I was
really?
going
Okay.
through counseling, right?
I see.
And I was looking at these prospects, and I was like looking at it,
Hmm.
wondering, and I made my decision.
Wow.
I'm not doing things that everybody is doing. I want to do something different.
Oh, that's nice. That's good to know. And now, like, you're doing consulting, right, to the
Right.
health tech, med tech companies.
Hmm.
Before that, can you elaborate a bit more around your career before that?
Yes. So after my schooling, I started off as a product development engineer for a very early startup.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Orbe, who was a practicing surgeon in with University of Akron and Akron General Hospital
Okay.
in Ohio,
Okay.
so used to work with the university as well as him as a startup.
Hmm.
Took his ideas and developed the foot and ankle related trauma products,
I see.
right? So basically that's where my product development journey has started,
Hmm.
where I'm associated with doing research on hard and soft tissue biomechanics.
I see.
Now I
Okay.
have gotten into development of these products and
Okay.
try to extend the study on uh, cadavers, right? Have clinical studies and try to have a real product
Hmm.
developed out of that startup ecosystem,
Okay.
right? So that was my initial experience coming out of the school.
Yeah.
Then after that, I've moved on to another startup company called Mako Surgical,
Mm-hmm.
which has completely uh, transformed the
Mm-hmm.
way joint arthroplasty is done today. So before Mako Surgical came into being,
Mm-hmm.
uh, knee arthroplasties or hip arthroplasties were done conventionally by opening incision to have the exposure of the entire wound,
Hmm.
right, and try to reconstruct the poor joint or the diseased joint.
Okay.
Now with the advent of robotics, right, I could add an analogy, right? There were very good surgeons
Mm-hmm.
who were able to repeatably get an accuracy, but it is only limited to those surgeons who are uh, you know who had that craftsmanship with their uh, practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it cannot be extended beyond for that
Hmm.
accuracy. So the robotics came in place, and it is similar to giving a stencil to anybody, right? So the outcome
Hmm.
is repeatable, reproducible. So now
Hmm.
the robotics help to minimize the surgery from what was supposed to be a 9-inch surgery to
Hmm.
4 to 5 inch surgery in the knee, and it was able to only work on damaged bone and not the entire bone,
Okay.
right? So it has enhanced the post-op. I mean, the accuracy of the joint knee replacement, right? The precision of implant placement, the post processing of the joint, right? And also reduce the amount of what should we say, post infections or
Mm-hmm.
anything that are possible
Possible.
because the
Okay.
incisions are small, and quicker rehabilitation. So that also reduce the burden on the patient
Patient.
and of the overall cost,
Right.
right? So with Mako Surgical Corp, I also started off as a startup systems engineer and application engineer, and grew up with them for the past for the 8 9 years while I
Mm-hmm.
was with them. And then Striker came and acquired them. At that time I started to look for another startup.
Ah, okay.
So I went to another startup in Miami
Mm-hmm.
who was starting to establish uh, another foot and ankle, or I should say upper and lower extremities implants.
Okay.
So I worked there for 8 to 9 months, but at the time I had some family transitions, so
Mm-hmm.
decided to move on and took on global roles.
Okay.
So I did consultancy for Johnson and Johnson. That's when was my first technical
Oh,
consultancy
okay.
for a global company on a global arena, right?
Nice.
And from Johnson Johnson, then I went to another company, Zimmer and Biomed,
Mm-hmm.
which were also local in Warsaw, Indiana. So there were two big companies that were merging.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of their PMO for the M&A group and worked on their post merger, as well as their QMS consolidation,
Got it.
quality management system. So overall, with these experiences, right,
Mm-hmm.
I understood from startups, right,
Yeah, the big
to emerging
team.
technologies, to matured companies and processes.
Hmm.
So I had a end-to-end view of the healthcare
Ecosystem,
industry
right.
from US and globally.
Hmm.
Now, after my experience in Biomed, I decided to move to India, and I got an offer through Philips.
Okay.
So I came to Pune.
Hmm.
That's when I came to Pune in 2019, right? And then started to work on their digital X-ray modality as an integral program manager, basically to end-to-end work on their release of their system products. But it has a business element to it as well, because we were moving the entire business from Germany
Hmm.
to Pune and establishing all the groundwork to make it a product engine.
I see.
So that's what my experience was with Philips before I moved on to the higher roles of directing some R&D productivity programs. But after some time, there was reorg happening in Philips, and I decided to come out, right, because things were not working
Hmm.
out. Based on I've worked with tangible products so far,
Yeah.
and it started to less feel like I was working close with the products,
Mm-hmm.
but away from it and just working on dashboards, which
Okay.
didn't fit my passion or
Right.
my profile.
Mm.
So decided to separate and move, and started to take on this consultancy
When
roles.
this
So
happened?
June of 2024.
2024, last year. You
Yes.
mean. Okay. Okay. That's good. So moving out of like kind of a company like Philips and
Mm-hmm.
taking that consulting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, is like, was there a trigger point, or why you have not switched from Philips to another enterprise like?
It is, see, within Philips also, I tried to look within
Hmm.
where I could have meaningful experience, but I started to have Monday blues, right? So you can take Monday blues only for so long, right?
Right, right, right.
And the organization was changing, the your champions were not there,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
And
So
it
that's.
could play only with so much in the constraints you're with, right?
Hmm.
So, and I have my first level healthcare,
Hmm.
right? I have to check for a similar role, right, or a
Hmm.
progressive role
Hmm.
in and around within the constraints I have, which is
Okay.
a difficult thing, right? After 20 years of experience, try to fit in something, it is going to be challenging.
Right.
But I was having entrepreneurial mindset here. I have seen that,
Uh-huh.
right, and I have some things in my own mind. So I started to get into the consulting world,
Hmm.
right? And now I'm also retained by Rich Hyderabad, which is Research Innovation Circle of Hyderabad,
Okay.
right?
Nice.
It's a startup incubator. So for their life science vertical, I'm retained as a business mentor.
Okay.
So as a pro bono, I work with them as a jury or mentor for startups that come to them seeking help, right?
Hmm.
So I try to get in equation with the startups and help them in the way they need. So it's still in a very nascent and
Right.
starting stage for myself, establishing the network, but keeping busy and trying to dispel my knowledge that I've gained through these 2 decades. It's still promising while I continue to find a
Right.
suitable role in the corporate world again.
I see.
So,
So, working in a big enterprises and now completely coming down to the startup world, right?
mm-hmm.
Is a big shift, right? You need
Yes.
to do a lot of unlearnings as well, right? I
Mm-hmm.
believe because now the way things are moving,
Right.
startups want to move fast, right?
Right.
And you have limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, how you're tackling those challenges?
Yeah, I have lived through that. Like through my experience, I've said, right, worked with startups. I
Yeah.
worked with startups growing into big companies that were acquired,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I went to a startup,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I went to a global, consultant
Hmm.
as
Correct.
for a global company for doing their operational excellency consolidation. Then I went to two companies, big companies, to
Hmm.
do a merger acquisition and post QMS uh,
Mm-hmm.
validation. Then I came to Philips, though
Hmm.
it's a big company,
You're
where we
working
are
with a small
starting
environment.
up.
Yeah.
It's small, and so you see that there are different cultures, different patterns,
Right.
and different uncertainties. And 2019, 2020. So as soon as I came, we are establishing everything. 2 years was done in COVID.
Right.
I haven't worked with my team physically for 2 years.
Right.
We completed the project and program, right?
Yes.
And met after COVID after 2 years.
Correct.
So all this shapes you, right?
Mm-hmm.
For working in a VUCA world, right?
Mm.
So basically, you have to answer your question, right?
Yeah.
How it feels, except for the monetary part, right?
Yeah.
Rest all is
It's keeping you excited every day.
keeping me excited, right?
Okay.
Wherever
Great.
I could help, I'm helping. I'm keeping myself
Nice.
busy, right?
Nice.
People are benefiting from my
No, that's very
yeah.
important. That's why, like, they
Mhm.
are looking at. That's how they are looking at you, right?
Yeah.
So, again, coming back to the startup question, right? So, you're consulting to the startups in health tech, right?
Mhm.
In healthcare industry.
Yeah.
What are the toughest challenges you've seen?
So for the startups here, mainly it's the R&D ecosystem and
Hmm.
infrastructure, right? So when anybody wants to start a startup, they need to think about all the barriers. One,
Hmm.
the regulatory.
Yeah.
So as a healthcare startup, you need to understand what is the problem you're trying to solve,
Regardless the country, right?
right?
Wherever you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can talk from US or India. US has
Stricter
more stricter
laws. Yeah.
laws and regulatory frameworks, so it takes longer
Yeah.
to release a product. So you need upfront R&D seed money,
Yeah.
right, for a startup to take
And
them
if they are
before
mostly in hardware, I think that takes more
more time.
FDA approvals and stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it all depends on the problem, the kind of solution, how it is scalable, how quickly you can release, right? So
Yeah.
each startup has its own flavor, and it comes to the ecosystem and infrastructure,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So India is growing as a market where affordable solutions. You
Yeah.
look for affordable solutions.
Right.
US is able to handle premium products, but India is still not there. They are looking for affordable solutions to go and
Mm.
be in that zone to accept premium products
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Right. So, over the years, like you've seen last 20 years, right?
Hmm.
So, does like regulatory frameworks is still hampering the way they were 20 years back, or they are much better now? Because can you speed up your journey through or go through those obstacles quickly nowadays?
It's good and bad, right? Because it's learning,
Mm-hmm.
right? So from regulatory perspective to more and more clinical data is coming in,
Right.
right?
Right.
So more and more field realities
Yeah.
are observed and reported, documented by the companies
Mm.
who have been in the industry for a while,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So the post-market surveillance
Yeah.
and all the data for
Mm.
their clinical validation
Right.
to
Right.
take it further.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there, but
Mm.
at the same time with that there is this technology growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technology is disrupting itself, it's way ahead than the adoption rate,
Mm. Correct.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So and the biggest delta or the gap here is the between the adoption rate is the
Mm.
trust factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the patients or hospitals, right, to they need to develop the trust
Right.
on the new technology
Mm-hmm.
before they can integrate with their legacy systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know the time and effort that have taken
Mm.
to instill a system
Mm.
and for it to mature and get valid data points to feel comfortable and again go
Yeah.
over an iteration or completely have a new system
Mm.
overtake the legacy system.
Mm.
These take time,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. So again, even like working with a lot of customers, speaking a lot of prospects as well, day in day out. So a lot of innovation is happening, right, in
Mhm.
medtech as well, medtech devices. So whether it's IoT,
Mhm.
then you have AI now, like embedded AI, edge devices with AI, right?
Mhm. Right.
So and also in robotic surgery. So I
Mhm.
want to understand what are the things that excites you more
Mhm.
today
Right.
compared to earlier days, right? So where you see like the things are moving.
Huh. So everybody is looking at making their life comfortable,
Yeah.
convenient, right? So this is where technology comes in place,
Mm.
right? Why robotics is shaping
Mm.
surgeries,
Mm.
right? So earlier surgeries were limited to a few,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And those few go through a lot of burnout,
Mm.
right? Because you have more and more patient population coming in,
Correct.
right? But the practicing surgeons are limited,
Yeah, yeah. That's a
right?
burn down.
There is a lot of burn down. So the technology has came in that could enable them, augment them, assist them,
Yeah.
right? To ensure that they can do more surgeries and also repeatably, accurately,
Yeah.
right? So now robotics and healthcare, right? I said robotics is a system in itself. Humans are system in itself,
Hmm.
right? Now you need to understand, like, from head to toe, right? There are various clinical problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
For each clinical problem, you have multiple solutions. Now it comes to, like, solving a problem comes with uncertainty.
Yeah.
Uncertainty comes with risk. And what there is a risk mitigation with every solution, right? Is this solution cost effective,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And does it give higher benefit over the cost,
Hmm.
right? For example, if there is a heart transplant,
Right.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
the benefit to cost, the cost is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
You have to get a
Hmm.
live
Hmm.
transplant,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the benefit is there is no other alternate,
Yeah.
right? So there is no question in
Hmm.
the cost in that sense,
So correct.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But if I am trying to do hair transplant or something
Yeah.
like mere cosmetic, for
Yeah.
lack of
Yeah.
any other example, there are alternatives
Yes.
probably, let's say,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Or a oral
Right.
toothbrush.
Yeah.
We have smart sensors and
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Yes.
So there are alternatives. So cost benefit analysis dictates the solutions,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
As as much as there are various factors. So if you look at the theory of five Porter's process, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
When I want to have a particular company come in, you are looking at what is the problem you are trying to solve,
Hmm.
what kind of enablers you have, what
Hmm.
kind of suppliers
Hmm.
you have. Do you have any threat, with suppliers,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or buyers having power?
Hmm.
Do I have alternatives,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
can disrupt my technology?
Right.
So as a startup, you are coming into this, you also have to look into all these environmental dynamics,
Hmm.
right, along with the solution and its dynamics.
I see. Right. No, that's a valid point. And also, you mentioned one of the word is assist, right?
Mhm.
So today, is robotic still an assistive technology, or it can operate by its own
It has the potential to operate it on its own, but are we in a position to get operated
by
by a
the
robot?
robot?
No,
No,
we are not,
it's a
right?
mental block for the humans.
Yeah, it's a mental block for the humans, it's a mental block for everyone, right?
Hmm.
Anything
Hmm.
can go wrong,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't put my life in a robot's hand,
Yeah. Exactly. No,
right?
that's what I was coming to. Like, if I want have to do any surgery,
Hmm.
end of the day, my life is on the line, right? So
Right,
why I should go to the robotic just for the sake of it, until and unless I don't have any alternative,
right.
right? So
Hmm.
that's the only way I would suggest. I
Yes.
will go with the doctor who knows it.
Hmm.
Again, it's a kind of that's how humans work, right? It's a very
Yes.
complex system, we know.
Yes.
But then if robots can do, I don't know how the future will look like, because still not only robots, right? We're talking about AI agents.
Right.
So AI agents also not 100% accurate, right? So
Hmm.
we need a human in the loop.
Hmm.
Even a clinician or a nurse, let's say, looking at the patient data. For example, a simplest use case is patient summary.
Right.
If you have tons of 1 year, let's say 1 year data of a patient, and you just
Right.
want to get a quick summary,
Hmm.
it still need to be reviewed by the nurse, right?
Right.
It's not like we can't trust the AI agent, right?
Yes.
Do you foresee such in next 10, 20, 30 years
No,
that
technology should always be used as an enabler.
okay,
Technology will and should never be used as a replacement.
in healthcare specifically, right?
Yes, specifically in healthcare, you can say. But even if you look at automobile industry, where
Hmm.
you are trying to optimize the operations,
Right.
right? But you are not taking away the human element, right?
Yeah.
When you're adding the automation process, somebody has to build the automation process, so you're
Correct.
displacing that human power where it
But you're
means
adding more
more,
efficiency,
right?
speed, right?
Yeah, you're adding efficiency, right?
Right.
End of the day, would you just do you envision
Hmm.
a car just getting built out of thin air,
Mm.
right? Just
Mm.
by giving out, somebody has to bring the material,
Yeah.
somebody has to ensure that it is built properly,
Yeah.
right?
The quality checks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
those robots can't do human, right?
no, the
Maybe
robot can do, but somebody has to
procure.
intervene
Yeah.
and ensure that in a timely manner
Yeah. I mean,
there
like
are
even we're
interventions.
talking about not 100%, but 70-80%
Hmm.
speed or efficiency can be
Yes.
achieved on in the non-healthcare sector, right? Because
Hmm.
there are no threat to the humans, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I think that is the
Yes.
biggest
Yes.
asset we have, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, but in healthcare, I would say that all regulatory, the main job of regulatory agencies
Mm-hmm.
is to ensure the safety of the device,
Yeah.
safety of the users,
Yeah.
and safety to the patients and
Patient.
safety to the environment,
Correct.
right? So when look at the safety aspects, it's very important to understand the downside of being autonomous. So
Mm-hmm.
when the robots are given that autonomy,
Mm.
right, do they ensure the safety of all the players involved
Mm.
in the
In the
ecosystem,
yeah, right,
right?
right.
So which is difficult and
Mm.
hard to achieve unless you're operating in an environment where no human can enter.
Mm. Okay, okay. How you relate it with the driverless cars?
Hmm.
So there also you have, if something goes wrong,
Yeah,
lives on the line, right? But
right.
still, like the majority of the cities in the US, right? For
Yeah,
example, California, right? They are
yes.
still permitting it. So
Yeah.
don't you think that is going? So similar thing can happen in healthcare?
Yeah, sure. There are some use cases where there is a highly infectious person.
Hmm.
Their autoimmunity is close to snake's belly,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So you don't want any infections to come in by
Hmm.
any
Hmm.
means, right?
Right.
So basically, you're served by robots,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Be from food
Hmm.
to serving the pills,
Hmm.
auto dispensing systems, to basically going and just making a hygiene check,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And dispensing sanitizer,
Hmm.
cleaning the room,
Hmm.
keeping the entire area out of
Yeah.
reach of humans.
Right.
So you can see such things happening more and more
More. Yeah.
as world is evolving with more and more viruses around us,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah. That's a good
So
use case. Yeah.
yeah, so I can foresee a lot of use cases which can.
Okay. So that's the next question is connecting to that, right? So you saw both the markets, India and US,
Mhm,
uh, and specifically in medtech devices, right? So what are the innovation that is happening in US,
mhm.
which you feel like India is still lacking, or what do you think is the best thing that can happen in
Mhm.
next few years if things goes right?
So in US, advances in robotics has been ahead, right?
Hmm.
So to the same reasons I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier,
Right.
right? Is heavy R&D funding needed upfront
Yeah.
to,
Right.
and also you need clinical validations, right?
Hmm.
So the infrastructure that is available and set up, and the investors'
Hmm.
confidence in taking risks for
Right.
such kind of startups is high there, heavy,
Hmm.
right? In India, we look for more affordable solutions
Yeah.
than premium or capital intensive products,
Hmm.
where still ROI is tough.
Hmm.
When you look at robotics in healthcare, I almost think that you need high investment, almost 1 million plus,
Hmm.
right? And if you're looking at any hospital, even in US, the ROI is like not less than 3 to 5 years,
Right.
right? So but the multipliers, the
Hmm.
benefits,
Hmm.
right? The investors are ready to take that long journey,
Hmm.
and it
The
it
risk
has shaped up.
appetite is more, right?
It has
Mm.
taken time to mature over there, but India has just started to pick
Yeah,
up,
right.
right? It is still not there. Hmm? We have the brains, the knowledge, but the infrastructure and the support system
Hmm.
to launch them is growing, because we have now BIRACs, biotechnology, and startup incubators coming,
Right.
right? Bharat Abhiyans,
Yeah.
right? So there are a lot of other schemes that are coming
Yeah.
to catalyze
Yeah.
our healthcare ecosystem,
Correct.
right? So I'm definitely positive that we'll get there, but still, that barrier with the regulatory framework,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
will will make or break the deal, right? We are heavy in IT center of excellence,
Yeah.
right? We focus a lot on providing, you know, digital health,
Correct.
right? We can provide IoTs in no
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
We can provide SaaS in no time,
yeah,
right? So over here we are good, but when we are trying to get hardware,
yeah.
right? Anything that goes with embedded systems,
Mm,
hardwares,
mm.
tangible products.
Right.
So we still have long way to go, right?
Mm-hmm. But I
To
think last 5 years or so
we
it
have
started, right? And
we
even like
have good
Ayushman
innovations.
Bharat and stuff, they started like not only regulation side but also centralizing the whole ecosystem, right? Because India itself has that much potential of 1.5 billion people, right? You had so
Right,
much data to learn on, train on, right? I
right.
think that is where the biggest advantage
Hmm.
India has.
Yeah,
But yeah, I see those changes are happening, and
right.
maybe next decade or so we'll be in a better position. Uh, Again, like the next question is more around data, right? So you have seen different types of data in healthcare. It's
Hmm.
structured, unstructured data
Hmm.
coming from different IoT devices,
Hmm.
EHRs, EMRs, right? And then
Hmm.
also this robots, right? So you want to make sure that the data we collect and retrain that, right?
Hmm.
So where do you see like that will go in coming days? uh, Again, and because I'm personally working with a lot of healthcare clients, right? So
Hmm.
the always discussion around data, right?
Hmm.
Security is one part of it, but
Hmm.
how you use that data intelligently, you need
Right.
domain expert, subject matter expert also, right?
Hmm.
And and so major question again is around how you manage that data coming from different sources, and how you make sure that it is ready to for the AI system to use, right? So
Right.
any example you would like to quote?
So, I mean, I will start to take some examples on
Yeah.
AI in radiology.
Okay.
I'll start and then go to the data a
Yeah.
little bit, right? So, X-rays have been there fundamentally since the advent of physics, X-ray
Yes.
physics, right? They used to come on the images, and the radiologist takes them,
Yeah.
hands it to the patient. The
Patient. Yeah.
patient takes it to the
Doctor.
doctor,
Yeah.
and they have to.
Yeah.
Uh, so, there is a long time for this process to pan out before the
Yeah.
patient
Knows
and
the
doctor
results.
has
Yeah.
this interaction,
Right.
right, and knows
Yeah.
what's the ailing fact.
Yeah.
Now that now it has been digitized. There are digital advents with the way imaging is done,
Right.
right? So you are able to get the image. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to use as much simplification as possible, right? And the image can directly be seen, right,
By the
by the
physician. Yeah.
radiologist,
Yeah.
and also can be
Doctor.
immediately dispensed to
Patient.
doctor,
Yeah.
right? And also, right, now going to one level deeper, right, they have these learning modules where
Mm.
they already understand like a particular image,
Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
some particular modalities or modes that exist in the image are learned,
Yeah.
right? For example, I see a
Fact.
fracture,
Yeah.
right, right, or see something in the chest x-ray. So
Mm-hmm.
you already have this learned knowledge
Yeah.
that you are making the algorithm to learn
Mm.
as and when these data comes through, right?
Mm. Mm.
So it will basically fixate,
Mm.
right,
Mm.
and give possible
Out. Yeah. Maybe
output as part of like diagnosis, right?
prediction.
And
Yeah.
the radiologist is ready with the report,
Mm.
right, saying and gets it to the doctor. So
Yeah.
reducing the process time, right,
Yeah.
and reducing, I mean, more like preventive,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If anything,
Is alarming. Yeah.
it's alarming, you
Mm.
act on it right away.
Right away.
So there's a lot of benefit to the patients, there is a lot of benefits to the overall healthcare system when
Mm.
you're using technologies like AI, right?
Mm.
And there's a lot to it because there is learning to it, right? As much as relevant data goes into this algorithm,
Yeah.
more refined outputs
Yeah, because
are spewed
again,
out.
yeah, it's not easy as like you explained very
Hmm.
well. But
Hmm.
again, as you know, the data is not only about the DICOM image or image, right? So, but
Right.
it has to also need to be trained in such a way that what the person comorbidities are, right? Maybe
Hmm.
if he has any, what is
Hmm.
his age, and
Right.
diversity is another aspect, right? So,
Hmm.
which side of the world he's come from, that, right?
Right.
So ML model, again, I think these all biases also here, we need to make sure that doesn't come as output.
Hmm.
So that's where like biggest challenge come, right?
Hmm.
How you train on such a low level data, so that taking whole history of a patient, his
Hmm.
clinical notes, his diagnosis, existing diagnostic report or maybe any other comorbidities, right?
Mhm.
And then connect the dots.
Yes.
So that is where things goes complex, right? And
Mhm.
that's where I see, if data is so much and it is in disparate systems, right, it's not like
Yes.
at one place. So
Yes.
that also we need to see how our AI model can done. So
Yeah.
anything you have to
So it's a trial and error, right?
mm-hmm.
You keep thinking and tweaking the variables
Yeah.
and the outputs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you see a lot of correlation, you
Mm-hmm.
try to keep those variables or
Yeah,
parameters
right, right.
and try to churn out rest of the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
As and when you start feeling the models
Correct,
converging,
correct.
right?
The
You try to
accuracy.
have a structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you understand the process, you are knowing what output you are focusing on, you will have to structure the inputs,
Mm.
and what kind of inputs need to go into the process,
Right.
right? And also when you know, okay, these inputs are producing these kind of outputs, or these outputs is what I'm looking, then there is something that I need to look into the process,
Process.
right?
Okay.
Should I reference something in the process,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I
It's a
only
feedback
look at
loop. I
this,
mean, it's
right?
continuous
Huh.
feedback
So there is always a scrutiny on this IPO model,
loop. Mm.
right? In simple terms, and see where you need to keep ensuring it the focus is maintained, so
Mm-hmm.
that you have efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
right, and effectivity,
Right.
right? Effectivity in the outcomes, right, and efficiency in the process.
Got it. Okay. And uh, you earlier mentioned about regulations, right? So that's a very important aspect.
Mm,
So again, connecting US and India, right?
mm.
So if any startup want to navigate through that journey of regulations, right, what are your maybe it's few points to them, or maybe lessons you learned which can be helpful for their journey?
Could you repeat your question? It's
So if they want to navigate through the regulatory journey, right,
mm,
what are the things, pros and cons, or maybe like things that they should do, they should not do, right,
mm,
as a startup? Because
mm,
entrepreneurs at the start, they might not be aware of what all
mm.
things they have to go through.
Right.
So if you have any few bullet points
Mm.
for the any startup, then
Yeah,
that will be
my
great.
suggestions to the startup is, okay, you are working on a problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, you need to understand the problem very crisply when
Mm-hmm.
you're presenting your solution. You know what kind of solution you're presenting, and when you are presenting the solution, you know what is the
Mm-hmm.
target population it is working on and the target markets. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the first step,
Okay.
right? When you know your markets, you know what regulatory bodies you are working with.
Mm.
So whether if you are trying to market in US, right, you need to go through FDA approvals.
Right.
So you need to understand where your products stand
Mm.
as per their
Right.
classification,
Okay.
right? Whether it is a class 1, class 2, or class 3 medical device,
Mm.
right? Once you have that understanding, right, where your solution stands,
Mm.
then you will have to apply the respective framework,
Mm.
right, to get
Mm.
your approvals. So
Okay.
class 1 has less stringent, class 2 has a little bit more stringent, class 3 has higher due diligence and stringent paperwork,
Okay.
right, to ensure end of the day the paperwork goes from design inputs to design outputs and all the risk management documentation associated with the design
Okay.
to ensure that your product is safer to use,
So what is the
right?
difference, like in layman terms, class one, class two, class three?
Hmm.
Who is going after class one and who is on class
So
two?
each product, right, the way FDA has been FDA has classified is class 1 device is there is no impact to the user,
Okay.
right? It's like you have band-aids,
Hmm.
adhesives,
Hmm.
right? So anything that is just that doesn't have any risk on
Okay.
you or impairs you,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Then comes class 2A, class 2B. So it goes into more nuances, right? Where you have what should I say, orthodontics or other stuff, right?
Hmm.
Now comes class 3 where I have implants,
Okay.
cardio, where uh, if the implant doesn't work properly,
Hmm.
it basically ruins my anatomy, my
Correct.
natural state,
Right.
right? If the cardio stunt fails,
Yeah.
I may lose my life,
Right.
right?
Right.
So the risk to the user is
Is more.
high,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And in a similar way, risk to the user. Now I'll come to the X-ray machines,
Ah.
right? If it is not properly designed,
Hmm.
the user has more risk of extra radiation,
Correct.
not just the patient,
Hmm.
right? So there are extra uh, design restrictions
Hmm.
on how the rooms are designed, and
Hmm.
so there is clearance, so they also come under class 2B,
Right. Okay.
right?
This seems pretty complex.
Yeah, but once you understand the framework,
Huh.
so for the when you go through the framework, it is completely, the guidelines are digested for you,
I see.
right? You go through it, you establish your procedures to fit these guidelines.
Okay.
So this is FDA, and Europe you have UMDR, right?
Okay.
For India we have CDSCO,
Okay.
right? For Australia, TGA. So each country has its own regulatory body,
Got
its
it.
own governance structure, right?
Okay.
So, but end of the day, if you see, the elements are common.
Common. Okay.
Only the
But do you
classifications
are different? Yeah, I
are
mean, like
defined
the
differently.
way defined are different.
Yes.
But do you feel like connecting that again? The same question. So, which one? Any startup, if they want to enter the US market, right?
Hmm.
So definitely FDA they have to do.
Hmm.
So, and is the US FDA process is more stringent or maybe more complex than any other countries, or
No,
based
it's
on your
stringent. Let's
yeah.
say it's complex is based on our understanding.
Hmm.
So let's say it's more stringent. It has more. You need to provide more documentation, more
Hmm.
follow throughs,
I
right,
see.
to establish your clinical viability of the
Right.
product,
Right. How
right?
long typically it
So
takes?
it depends on the product,
I see.
right?
So it.
If there is a, if you are releasing a product
Mm-hmm.
which is equivalent to something that has already been established,
I see.
right? So it is like a similar product, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a predicate.
Mm.
You have a predicate,
Mm.
you're just
Just
enhancing few
enhancing.
things and sending. So it
Okay.
uh, but if it is totally new,
New.
de
Yeah.
novo, novel,
Mm.
right,
Mm.
you need to do extensive clinical studies before you have limited trial on human beings,
Mm.
before you go for the full-fledged release on human
I
applications.
see. So on the FDA side, what is the process they have? Like because the studies
Hmm.
the customer or startup will say going to send to them, right?
Hmm.
So how exactly the process at their end look like?
So it's submitting a file for
Okay.
510K, pre-market authorization based
Mm.
on the classification.
Mm.
So you have this decision tree. You go through the decision tree.
Mm.
Either you have an in-house regulatory or you can use a regulatory consultant, right, who can help to liaise with the FDA
Okay.
and submit the documentation, right? So they have a list of questionnaire or checklist
Mm.
that they go through to ensure that you have everything that is needed for the clearance.
Mm.
So if there are any gaps, the authority comes back and raises the queries. So the
Okay.
queries need to be addressed in a timely manner. And once everything is addressed and to a convincing, satisfactory level, they give you a clearance letter to
So does
510K
FDA
clearance.
bodies also validate all the products to testing? No,
No, they use the documentation from
the certified.
no, from the companies, right? They have to validate with the clinical users.
Yeah.
So a way system is built is you have user requirements.
Mm.
From user requirement, you digest them down to decompose to system technical requirement, product
Right.
requirements, and they're horizontally integrated to the
Mm.
verification,
Mm.
and then you validate the entire system to the user requirements.
Mm.
So this entire technical dossier,
Mm.
right,
Mm.
is sent to
Submitted. Okay.
submitted,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So, in robotic surgery specifically, right, the cost
Mhm.
was almost always a concern.
Mhm.
So, how you are seeing that shift? Is the hospitals are ready now to uh, bet on those many costs? Because again, like in past, I saw this
Mhm.
huge cost, right?
Yes, yes. No, definitely. So hospitals are looking into the synergies
Yeah.
of having robotics as part of their solutions,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So if you see, it it increases the revenue through reducing the burnout of the surgeons, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have more throughput,
Mm-hmm.
right? And patients are looking forward
Mm-hmm.
to get operated
Mm.
through hospitals which have better infrastructure
Mm.
or higher technologies, right?
So that's a
So the
patient driven.
quality of care, yes.
Okay.
So there is more revenue involved,
Mm.
right? The hospitals are also looking to offer those solutions because they can increase the throughput of the surgeons
Mm.
and more patients are also willing to come,
Okay.
right?
So there's a cost that, as far as the insurance company or patients are concerned, the costs are going down.
Yes, and so your ROI, what
Mm.
could have been
Yeah.
5 years, is coming down to 3 years because the
Right.
throughput is
More.
increasing,
Yeah.
right? So more and more hospitals
Mm.
are looking to place their bet and investing into, robotics.
Robotics. Okay. Okay. So which verticals or segments within healthcare, like you mentioned about knee, right, or maybe
Mhm.
heart transplant. So
Right.
which are the like hottest sectors where robotics is most widely used?
I mean, there are a lot, but one of the very famous robot that world has seen is Intuitive Surgicals,
Mm-hmm.
Da Vinci,
Okay.
right? So it goes into your soft tissue
Mm-hmm.
laparoscopic surgeries,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have revolutionized the way you can operate on your soft tissues and internal organs,
Okay.
and it also enables telepractice,
I see.
right? You have a console operating on the patient,
Okay.
right? There is a somewhere, if you have a similar connectivity, right, a
Mm-hmm.
surgeon, practicing surgeon, and he is better at it, they
Mm.
can guide and do the surgery remotely,
I see. Okay.
right?
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember we had a similar kind of device we worked where it was related to endoscopy. So
Yes.
they insert the camera and then
Hmm.
remotely the doctor actually
Yeah.
operates. But again, these are all assistive things.
The
Yeah.
finish, the dexterity, right?
Uh-huh.
And the access,
Hmm.
right? Imagine without the camera, without the lens and the micro surgical tools,
Yeah.
all of them going through a what you can imagine a garden hose, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's getting into your gut or anything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Right. It's risky.
so miniaturized,
Yeah.
and the technology is so well that what you cannot see with your naked eye, now you can
Yeah.
see on ultra 4K,
Right.
right? You
Right.
are able to diagnose, treat, and
Hmm.
give better care,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
So that
robotics are here
also,
to stay. They
yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah. No, those the point that you mentioned, right? Earlier, even the doctor were not able to see what's
Hmm.
inside, right?
Yes.
At that microscopic
Yeah,
level.
they have to open. They
Yeah.
have to just open the entire
Right.
thing
Right.
to.
Hmm. No, that's interesting.
And imagine the amount of blood loss and everything, right?
Yeah.
And post
No, no,
operation
definitely.
care.
That is the biggest advantage, I would say. Like, end of the day, humans like want to be in the safe hands, right? But if
Hmm.
robots plus doctors can do the magic, why not, right? So,
Right,
yeah, and I believe that will also help in longevity, right, of the
right,
humans.
right.
So, end of the day,
Hmm.
it's happening already.
Hmm.
So, one of the question again. Uh, Around AI, right? So AI innovation is what's happening in the world, right? And healthcare is also there. I mean, like I see in healthcare as well. But do you feel like maybe have you saw like the AI in non-healthcare sectors moving much faster than healthcare? Have you seen that? Just because here like the regulations are more because humans on the line.
Yeah,
Is that the case, or you see no?
no,
That's not.
definitely. So AI in non-healthcare goes quickly, right?
Mhm.
Definitely because there are no uh,
Or maybe less stringent.
less stringent,
Yeah.
and I don't have to have those clearances, so you can scale them quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But at the same time, right, the barriers
Hmm.
are also less.
Right.
So there is a lot of competition, and it becomes commoditized,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So the playing field is huge, and the players are also huge on
Yeah.
the non-healthcare side.
Right. Right. And apart from India and US, what other markets do you see like healthcare or maybe the robotics is increasing?
All over the world,
Okay.
right? So the biggest thing is the barriers to it is regulatory,
Yeah.
right? The second thing is the insurance
Okay.
providers,
Okay.
how much of reimbursement is
Hmm.
possible.
Hmm.
So if you take the example of US and India, let's
Yeah.
say for example, US is well structured from insurance and
Yeah.
reimbursement perspective,
Yeah.
but
Revenue
still there
cycle.
were
Yeah.
challenges. It took time for them to accept robotic surgeries as part of the reimbursement,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So it took them some time. So even India, like India, insurance is very heavily unstructured,
Yeah. Correct.
right? And the policymakers are coming into play,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
to clean it and make it more structured,
Hmm.
so that more
So you are
they.
saying that
Mm.
already happening in India, or
Yeah,
it's happened?
I think I could feel, I could sense. I haven't
Okay.
heard technical, but it should shape up,
Okay.
right? Where insurance is structured,
Hmm.
right, and also enables the technology to shape up, right?
Okay.
If the reimbursement, if health insurance enables the reimbursement, more and more users will come forward to use the technologies,
Correct. Yeah.
right? More and more technologies come forward, we have more and more growth in healthcare space.
Right. Right. Even the insurance cost may go down, right? So
Yes.
the reimbursement side.
Yeah.
Just to connect, like again, understand. Today, does like Indian health insurance companies reimburse robotics
I
or no?
cannot. I mean, few do, few do
I
not.
see. Okay.
So it's very subjective. So I
I
cannot
see.
comment because that's not my territory.
Okay.
But I could say from my experience that, when my parents were getting their knee replacement,
Hmm.
my mom is a little bit on the obese side. She's not obese, but she will be contraindicated for robotic surgery,
Okay.
right? So didn't want to play the game.
Hmm. Hmm. I see.
So whether it will get reimbursed or not,
Okay.
you're anyways contraindicated
Yeah.
for that. So don't be on the line for this. Go
Hmm.
for the traditional,
This
even
was
though my
like,
heart was with robotics
yeah.
2 years ago, right? So
Okay. Okay.
it is what is good for the patient and in the system there.
Yeah. Uh, One of the last question again, maybe you can also tell to the audience, right? Or the
Hmm.
maybe the founders who are building anything on
Hmm.
the health med tech side. What are your interests in the upcoming shapes, right? Where do you feel, or maybe makes you excited to, okay, I want to support these guys, or maybe consult with such kind of a companies who are
Hmm.
doing maybe let's say precision medicine, or maybe on robotics, right?
Right.
What are the areas that you
So
foresee?
for me, robotics has been in the forefront. So robotics is shaping up in as enabling physiotherapies,
Hmm.
right, in geriatric care, robotics for surgeries.
I see.
So there are a lot of places robotics is picking up, and would definitely be interested in providing my own expertise
Maybe
in these
can you
spheres.
tell me top three things that you can help them with for any company, healthcare, medtech company?
So my ability as a systems thinker,
Okay.
right? So when you are thinking you want to have a solution, you need to come up with a structured approach,
Right.
right? You need to understand
The system design.
the
Yeah.
requirements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are your users, right?
Mm-hmm.
So understand their requirements clearly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are business requirements, there are customer requirements,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then you come to decomposing it to the next level,
Mm-hmm.
right, where you get all the technical specifications and
Right.
everything, but those user requirements are also interacting with all the environments.
Mm.
It's in the operational safety aspects,
Right.
your suppliers,
Yeah.
acquirers of this solution.
Mm.
So you need to understand the entire ecosystem where this product is going to have its foot set in,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So my expertise is bringing that end to end view,
Okay, so you can
right?
jump in at any stage of the company, right? Startup, whether that's early, they're
Yes.
in development,
Yes,
or
there are
maybe
different maturities of a company when they
correct.
are doing systems engineering,
Yeah.
where they are just performing,
Yeah.
or companies who are transforming,
Right. Right.
right? So you have different tools and methodologies
Correct.
for a set of companies which are early in their maturity curve,
Yeah.
to the companies
That
who
are
are
already matched. And also, I
uh,
believe even they are matured enough in one of the country and they want to go global, your
hmm,
experience can also be helpful, right? So
yes,
you comes with that global background.
yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think this is great. I learned a lot of new things today as well, more around FD and robotics. But yeah, thank you to be here, Vinay.
Thank
A
you. I
pleasure
also
hosting
enjoyed.
you. And yeah, looking forward
Yeah,
to the next. Thank
thank
you.
you.